Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to teach you how to solve double-sided equations. Now when I say that, equations always have two sides to them, but notice what's different about this equation compared to the ones you've just done in the previous exercise. You may notice that you've got letters on both sides of the equation, and we're going to look at how to solve ones like this. The strategy is always the same. Okay, the idea is we're trying to get the letter completely on its own. That's the goal. We're trying to get that letter on its own. And remember the golden rule of equations. Whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. And also, you've got to do the opposite of each sign. So what's the opposite of adding? Well, that's taking away. What's the opposite of timesing something by 2? Well, dividing something by 2 is the opposite. So that's the strategy. Whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. And you've got to do the opposite of kind of like the operation that currently is there. Okay, so let me copy it over here onto the right, and we can start balancing this equation out. Okay, so first of all, what you need to notice is that you've got 2x's on this side. Okay, so you've got 2x's on this side, but you've only got 1x on this side. Now what I do is I try and get rid of the smaller x from both sides of the equation. Okay, so this 1x is smaller than 2x. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that 1x and we're going to balance it out. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, there's only 1x. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away 1x from the left hand side. But remember, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. So I'm going to take away x from the other side as well. So I'm balancing the x out. I'm taking 1x away from both sides. Okay, so just think about this kind of equal sign as like a barrier. Okay, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you've got to do to the other side of the equation. So because we took away 1x from one side, you've got to take away 1x from the other side as well. Okay, so what would be left? Okay, so first of all I'm going to copy the equal sign down. Okay, so if I've got 2x's, I'm going to take away 1x. That means I'm left with 1x, but there's still a minus 1 here. That x take away x is 0, it just disappears, so I'm going to be left with a positive 1. Okay, so now I've got all the letters on one side of the equation. I've got the x on one side of the equation, but I need to get it on its own. So what do I need to do now? Well, okay, I need to get rid of anything around it. Well, I've got this minus 1 here, so I need to get rid of that minus 1. Okay, so how do I get rid of that minus 1? Well, what's the opposite to minusing 1? It's adding 1, so I'm going to add 1. But remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you've got to do to the other. So I'm going to add 1 to the other side. Okay, so now I'm just going to work that out. Well, minus 1 add 1 is 0. They disappear. So I'm left with the x. And then 1 add 1 is 2. Okay, so now look what I've got. I've got the x completely on its own. And I've just got the answer on the other side. So x equals 2. That is the answer. Okay, so let's check that. So press the check button. Okay, wait for the conversion, check your answer, and lo and behold, we got it right. Okay, so that's that equation solved. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, so this one is got a bit more to it, but let's copy it over here and let's work it out. Okay, so first of all, right, so I always start with the letters, but it doesn't matter. Okay, which side? Okay, so I've got 7 x's on this side and 3 x's on the right hand side. Okay, so which side's got the least number of x's? Okay, well it's this side here. So we need to get rid of that 3x. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, okay, that 3x is positive. What's the opposite of it? Well, it's negative 3x. So we're going to take away 3x from the right hand side. But remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you've got to do to the other. So I'm going to take away 3x from the other side as well. Okay, so now I'm going to work out what's left. So I'm going to copy the equal sign down. Okay, 3x's take away 3x's is 0. They disappear. But I'm left with 17 because that's literally what's left. 17 is what's left. Okay, 7x's take away 3x's is 4x. But 4x is not on its own. It's got the plus 4 there. Sorry, the plus 1 there, so I'm going to copy the plus 1. Okay, so that's literally what's left. Okay, so now we need to try and get the 4x on its own. Okay, so we need to get the 4x on its own. So we need to get rid of whatever's around it. Well, that's the plus 1 there. We need to get rid of it. Okay, so how do we get rid of it? Okay, so we take it away. So the opposite of plusing 1 is taking away 1. But remember, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do the other. So we're going to take away 1 from the other side. Okay, so what have we got left? Well, 17 take away 1 is 16. And then those two 1's go, so that's 4x on its own. Okay, so now look at what's left. 4x is worth 16, so that means x must be 16 divided by 4. So remember, the opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. Okay, so what's 16 divided by 4? Well, that is 4, so that means x must equal 4. Okay, so if we check that, wait for the conversion, and lo and behold, we've got it right. Okay, oops, it didn't like that particular line. It's probably because I forgot to write it in like it says. Okay, I literally forgot to write that line down. Okay, but the answer is definitely 4. Right, okay, so let's do the next question. Right, so this one's a little bit different again. Okay, so let me copy it to the right. Now, this confuses people sometimes, okay? First of all, that's a positive 1x. But this here, that minus, belongs to the 5x. So this is a negative 5x, okay? So if I ask you the question, which side has got the least number of x's? Well, it's this side here, okay? Because that's minus 5x. It's smaller than 1x, okay? So minus 5x is the smaller amount. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the minus 5x. So how do we do that? Okay, well, we add 5x to both sides of the equation. Okay, minus 5x add 5x is 0. Okay, so actually let's copy the equal sign down. So minus 5x add 5x cancels it out. So you're just left with the 9 on its own. X add 5x is 6x, so that's there. And then you got the plus 6 that was originally there. Okay, so now we need to get rid of the positive 6 because the idea isn't to try and get the letters on its own. So the 6x, we're trying to get it on its own. So we need to get the positive 6 out of the way. Okay, so what's the opposite of that? Well, we're going to take away 6 from both sides. Okay, so copy the equal sign down. 6 take away 6 is 0. That goes. So you're left with 6x on its own. 9 take away 6 is 3. Okay, now this is where it might confuse you again, but let's work it out. 3 equals 6x. So how do we get the x completely on its own? Well, we need to take 3 and divide it by 6. Okay, because that's the opposite of multiplying by 6. But look at the answer. 3 over 6 is the answer, but we can simplify that fraction to a half. So x is equal to a half. Now, by the way, you can write x is 0.5, but it's better to work with fractions. Okay, so x is equal to 1/2. So let's check that. So press the check button. Okay, wait for the conversion and let's check it. Okay, and we got it right. Okay, let's do the last one. Okay, this one's a little bit different because again, there's a bit more work here. You've got some brackets and you've got minus 4x. Okay, so let me copy it over first of all. Okay, so what should we do? Well, the first thing I would do is I would expand that bracket there. And if you've watched the earlier video on that, how do you expand that bracket? Well, you take the number 5 and you multiply the first thing in the bracket by it. And then you just keep multiplying everything in the bracket by 5. Okay, that's literally what you do. So let's do that then. So that's going to be 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times 1 is plus 5. Okay, so it's obviously you put the plus sign in the middle. And then it's minus 4x equals x minus 2. Okay, so you've got x's on both sides of the equation. But if you look, you've got a bunch of x's here and here on the same side of the equation. So what you should do is you should collect those x's together, okay? So remember, you expand and you simplify immediately afterwards. So that 15x and minus 4x are on this, they're on the same side of the equation. So look at the equal sign is like a barrier, okay? They're on the same side, so you want to collect those together, okay? So you want to collect those together. So if we do that, 15x take away 4x, that's 9x. So it's, sorry, yeah, it's not 9x, is it? It's 11x, add 5 equals x minus 2. Okay, so this is the equation so far. Okay, so 15x take away 4x is 11x, and I've just written that there. You got the plus 5 already, and then you got equals x minus 2. Now look at this equation. This equation is just like the ones we did a moment ago, and we've just got to balance it out. Okay, so first of all, which side's got the least number of x's? Well, this x is on its own, so we're going to take away 1x from both sides. And actually, we could do it all in one go. Actually, we could take away 1x from both sides, and what we'll do is we'll take away 5 from both sides as well. We'll do that in one go. Okay, so I know it's a bit confusing, but you'll get the hang of it. So we're literally taking away 1x from both sides. So here it is, taken away. Okay, and then we want to get rid of the numbers here, so we're going to take away 5 from both sides. Okay, so what you're going to be left with is something nice and neat, but you're going to get there a little bit quicker. So you're going to leave with 10x here on the left hand side. 5 take away 5 is 0. That x take away x is gone, and you're left with minus 2 take away 5, which is minus 7. Okay, so now all we need to do is just divide both sides by 10. So x is equal to minus 7 over 10. This is your answer. If we check that, okay, wait for the conversion, and lo and behold, we've got it right. Now, the only thing is, it didn't like that line there, is because I literally forgot to write it in when I made this question, but it just gets you to the answer a little bit quicker. And there you go, there's the answer. Now, that's how you solve double-sided equations. The rule is to try and eliminate the smaller amount of x's first, the letters first. Try and get rid of the smaller amount first, okay? And remember, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other, and you do the opposite of each operation. And then you want to get the letter completely on its own, and whatever's left on the other side is your answer. Okay, and I hope you like that video. Now, just remember, please like and subscribe my video, but what I suggest you do now is click the link in the description, which takes you to this page, and you can have a go at some questions on your own and see how many you get right. Okay, thank you very much for watching, everyone.